Welcome to the first Mighty Kingdom graduates panel. Today we have Duy, Kirsty, Yianni, Harrison and I'm Sarah, and we're going to go through, just to start off with, we're going to just say a few words about where we studied. Luckily I wrote this down. Kind of our application process, how many places we applied to and what drove our decisions to where we were going to apply, and about what sort of networking we did before actually getting a job in industry, as well as what sort of experience we did, be it freelance work, internships, out of industry work even. So, to kick us off, we have some lovely pictures of ourselves and our disciplines. But first we have Duy.
Cool. Hi everyone, I'm Duy. I'm the game designer graduate at Mighty Kingdom. So originally I'm from Melbourne and I studied at SAE Quantum. I did a bachelor's of game development there, and in terms of experience, while I was studying, I interned at Tin Man Games. I did a bit of game design and QA work there, and then after I finished there, I was hired for the same role pretty much, but not an intern. And prior to working at Mighty Kingdom, I applied at probably more than 100 places, and yeah, finally landed here. And networking. As you can tell, I'm a nervous wreck in front of you all. So I didn't really go to many networking events, but that's just me. You'll find people who have found jobs from those events. But my boss at Tin Man, he basically walked me around the whole arcade at Melbourne, and he introed me around. So that was my networking. And yeah.
Okay. Quick intro, and now we meet Kirsty.
Yeah, my name is Kirsty. I'm the programming graduate at Mighty Kingdom. I studied in Brisbane actually at SAE Quantum, and I found my way here through another job as well. So I had a job previous to this one. I also applied for a lot of jobs, and I found that the best thing for me to get recognised by my applications was to sort of personalise it for every single job that I had. So I didn't try and throw out general applications, because every time I go to someone and ask about my application, they'd always say, do a cover letter that shows that you're interested in the actual job and the actual position in the company, and show that you're passionate about the company. So in doing that, I feel like I got a lot of sort of recognition in a way. So I threw out a bunch of resumes, and I was one of the people who were really interested in networking. So I went to networking events like GCAP and the Brisbane local networking events. And through GCAP, I was able to meet the companies that I applied for, and they were able to see me in person. I was able to have a small interview with them one-on-one, and I got a few job offers that way actually. So that was quite successful for me, and networking sort of does work. I was able to land my first job where I worked at PlayCorp in Melbourne, and yeah, that's me.
Alright, next up is Yianni.
Hey, I'm Yianni. I'm a 3D artist. I study at AIE, did game art there. And after finishing, I didn't do a whole lot of networking per se, but I kept fairly busy. I worked on Child of the Wind, which is a VR Steam game, with a few friends who went on to work at Mighty Kingdom, so that helped. I guess it counts as networking in a way. But yeah, I didn't really apply to a whole lot of jobs after finishing. I wanted to really build my skills up, and I did that. I really focused and knuckled down on what I wanted to work on after finishing. And then I applied towards the end of last year. I really applied a lot of places, writing some pictures, mostly local places. And if I didn't get this job, I would have probably started interstate and stuff. But yeah, that's me.
Next is Harrison.
Hi, I'm a programmer. I studied at AIE, which is just across the road. After AIE, I applied for Mighty Kingdom, which is the fortunately only job I had to apply for. And then I went and studied in the GDML, because that started before I knew about if I got the Mighty Kingdom job. So I started off, which GDML is a business course, more like about starting off a studio and whatnot. And fortunately I got the job at Mighty Kingdom, so I went from just in there to over here. It was a big move. But yeah, I was really fortunate that it was the first, the job I applied for was the first one. If I didn't get Mighty Kingdom, I was most likely going to apply for a few other local studios in Adelaide, otherwise most likely around Australia, if not overseas, that would be a bit of a struggle, but probably would give it a go. But yeah, networking wise, I went to one ARG. If you don't know what ARG is, it's like a meetup of Adelaide's really good gathering of game developers. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, I feel like most of my networking was actually at AIE. So if there's any AIE students, make sure you talk around and get to know your other disciplines, because a lot of the games that I worked on were with other disciplines like designers and whatnot. And I feel like teamwork is definitely an important part of getting a job. Also, be nice to your teachers. That one right now, because I feel like he's one of the reasons why I'm there. I hope you're one of the reasons why I'm there. But yeah, that's basically it.
All right. And there's me. I'm Sarah. I'm a technical artist, and I actually started in animation for films rather than doing an actual game design course at SA in Melbourne. So I focused a lot on doing like DLF meetups in Melbourne with more film focused. So I met a lot of people from Luma Pictures, focused a lot on like applying for like Rising Sun, Luma, all the places that as a graduate I probably wasn't going to get into, but as a technical artist it was quite difficult to think about how I was going to get my foot in the door, because everyone that I spoke to at meetups, they were all, oh, you're a rigger, and then did the sad little laugh following it. So it's, for me, it was more about perseverance and trying to get into internships. So I did an internship at Figment where I was working not as a rigger, but as a character modeler for one of their games. Then I went to Viscatoons for an internship, which was all built into my course actually, so I was quite lucky that I left with experience. That one wasn't games, that was working on cartoons. So for Jar Dwellers SOS, I did some like little title screens for them. Stuff that was really unrelated to games, but gave me a really good grounding in studio work and experience in just dealing with other people, dealing with directors and following, instruction and working on things that I might have thought that was, oh, this is a little bit different, but do it, get experience. What were my other things? As far as where I applied to, being from Victoria, I applied to Melbourne first and foremost, and when a lot of my expressions of interest were not replied to, or they said that they weren't hiring junior or graduate technical artists, I went interstate. There was only a few places that I applied to outside of the country, because I really thought, where would I want to work, where would I want to move, rather than just being, I want a job. So I had to balance those two, work versus do I want to move to Canada. So that all, I think it was about 3 months after I graduated that I found out that I had the job here. And in the meantime, I just really kind of buckled down on working on my pipeline skills, working on not even rigging, just different skills that would help me wherever I got a job. And now we're going to move on to some questions. Hopefully you guys have some questions.
Otherwise we're done.
Otherwise, yeah. We've got some dot points, I guess, here that are quite important. We felt we had a bit of a meeting and a talk before about what we felt were important things that maybe we wish we had have learnt and had have been told when we were leaving uni, or even still at uni studying. And if you guys want to go off that for questions, or if you would like to ask us specific questions for our faces, for our disciplines, do you have any? Open to the floor.
Well,
yes.
I'm curious for all of you, what do you feel distinguished yourself next to your peers that let you get a job? As opposed to, yeah.
Can I also just say, can you repeat the question when you answer it?
Okay.
If that makes sense, yeah.
So
Thank you.
everyone can hear
I'd
it.
say it, but I don't want to offend anyone.
So what distinguishes us from our peers?
Yeah. So do we want to go along the line?
Yeah, sure. So for me, I think I really worked hard on my portfolio. Whenever I made a game, even at uni, I had the thought that my future employer will see this work one day. So I did my best with every single game, and it really spruced up my portfolio. And yeah, it really helped me stand out. And luckily, the 2 games that I worked at Tin Man Games, they were nominated for awards, and they won an Australian Game Developers Award last year. So that really, I think that gave me a bit of step up.
Yeah, definitely a portfolio thing, as well as making good impressions while you're like interning as well. I got good references from the people I interned with, like the CEO of the company that I interned with, and just in general, just keep like making things and putting things in your portfolio, and like even in class, just working as hard as you can, like making a good impression with your lecturer is like always good, because he's one of my references as well, and he has like not a bad thing to say about me, which is like sets you apart from other people who might like slack off at uni and things like that. So yeah, just work hard, I guess.
I think even all of that is even more true for art as well, because your portfolio is like everything for art. But also I think for me, working on Child of the Wind, that VR game with a few friends, helped, because yeah, those guys went on to work MK and they probably put a good word in for me as well. So that helped me stand out a bit. And yeah, I haven't got much else to say that they haven't said already, so yeah.
Something that I've noticed with a lot of portfolios is that, not saying these websites are bad, but a lot of people use like Wix and WordPress. And for a programmer, it's really hard to make your portfolio stand out, because it's like, you can put all art on it, but that's just other people's work. So something that's really important is just like, maybe find a different website. Like I used Adobe Portfolio, just because it can be really clean. Like Adobe Portfolio is just put up a few little images, and then it's just really basic. You just click on it, and then you know exactly what you're looking at. And some portfolios can be really hard to look through. And I know from sitting next to people that are hiring at the moment, if something's hard to look at, they just next. You know, they don't spend much time. Not hating anyone in there. But yeah, also personality is a big one. I feel like that's like, you've got to have some sort of personality, and obviously I'm really funny, so that helped me out a lot.
For me, I knew that I wanted to go into rigging probably the year before I finished my course, so I made sure that my major project at the end of uni was, I could have gone and done a nice student film and worked on games and had really pretty things, but in the end I decided that my major project would be a showreel. So I spent all that time planning and creating a showreel that I was hoping would get me employed, and it ended up working really well. I still worked on other films, but I just did the rigging for them. There was not much distraction for, if I was to make my own film, I would have to do the modelling and the animation and the texturing and everything else as well. I just focused on the rigging, what I wanted to do, and I put the blinkers on and I just got to work with that. Some of the films that I could have worked on were really tempting, but it was just that focus of, I want to do this. I don't want to have to spend 3 months after uni making a showreel, so I'm going to do it as part of my uni degree. And now, that's
Okay, just to add on to that. So I did apply for like 100+ jobs before coming here, and one of them was a AAA internship, and I got to the final round and I just missed out, and they gave me valuable feedback, and if I didn't get that feedback, if I didn't listen to them and take it on, I wouldn't have gotten the job here. So always ask for feedback if you can.
yes.
What was the feedback, if you don't mind to ask?
Yeah, it's fine. So basically just, it was actually listen to feedback. They gave me feedback, but I didn't really like their ideas during the interview.
Yeah.
So I kind of rejected it, and they didn't like that, obviously, so that was it, yeah. Especially as a designer, you need to take on feedback, because people are looking at your work.
Yes.
In terms of like development and feedback, as you were saying, were there any like major mentors for each of you that helped you develop your skills? And were you introduced to those people like maybe while you're studying, or was it something that happened later when you actually got into your current positions at Mighty Kingdoms? Like, who are those people, and like how have they influenced you?
So we all have a mentor here at Mighty Kingdom as part of the so do we have mentors through uni, through our degrees, and here at Mighty Kingdom? We've all got mentors here. They're teaching us, building up our technical skills where there might be holes in our learning, and also kind of helping us kind of slot into Mighty Kingdom culture, I guess. And I think okay. Okay. Before coming here, I found that lecturers were the most valuable mentors. I mean, we're paying to go and study and get them to teach us, so might as well get the most out of them. I found that even if they weren't technically, you know, like as a technical artist, I was following rigging, even if the teacher wasn't a rigger, it was their enthusiasm that, you know, to try and help me find out all I can and try and open those doors for me. I find that they're the best mentors that can put you in contact with many people and can kind of build that this student really enjoys this particular aspect of whatever they're doing. I'm going to try and build that up.
Something on mentors. A lot of the time when you're going for a job, obviously you're going for the discipline that you've studied in, and obviously that's not a bad idea. But if you can't manage to get a job in that field, sometimes it's a good idea to pivot and maybe go for something similar. So a lot of people start off at MK. For example, one of them is a product manager now, but he started off as a QA, and it's just a good way to get your foot in the door, because once you're actually in the studio, obviously, like we just said, there's mentors, and you can work with those people. If you're interested in programming, but you're an artist, I know Yianni's kind of interested in programming, he can work with another programmer and develop his programming skills, and then eventually move on to programming. So yeah, obviously go for the field that you're trying to study in first, but don't be scared to try different fields, because it can work out.
Well, yeah, I didn't really have any sort of mentors. Maybe in the second year of AIE, Chris Hopgood was really good. He's here an artist at AIE. Yeah, Chris Hopgood's a really good teacher, so learned much again from him. But I was unfortunate because he didn't come into the second half of my second year there, so I didn't get as much as I could have off him. But yeah, after then, sort of had to go on my own a bit. But there's heaps of resources online, heaps of forums you can go on a sketchbook and Polycount maybe, that'll help heaps. Just posting regularly all the art you make. But if you're looking for mentorship, there's plenty online, and yeah, I recommend doing that. Just keeping a sketchbook on Polycount or any other site, or just a blog or something. So you're constantly making art and sort of building your skills up. So that'd be my advice.
Yeah, for me, I had good mentorship throughout uni, so my lecturers were excellent in the way that they always tried to mentor us and give us advice, and while they were teaching us. Also, I found kind of like mentors, more inspiration through my networking. So I met programmers who are amazing at their work, and they would always give me advice on how I could get better or what I should do to improve, and I'd send them code and they'd critique it and things like that. So I always had access to that sort of thing just by going out and meeting people and meeting programmers especially. And I was going for a project manager position at one point, and I was in my internship, and I was sort of shadowing my producer for about a month, and he was sort of teaching me all his ways and what he did, and trying to just if I wanted to go down that path, teaching me how to pretty much be a producer or a project manager. So yeah, that's my experience with that at least.
Yeah, I've been lucky to have mentors throughout my career. At uni, one of my lecturers, Maki, he helped me with so much. I was lucky that all my mentors had a decade plus of experience, plus they were passionate about helping the next generation and helping the industry grow. So yeah, they just really helped me shape who I am today. And still now, Kimber at Mighty Kingdom, it's really helped me a lot.
On top of that as well, you don't have to look at just industry professionals and teachers as for mentors. You can also look into your own peer group. I found that some of the biggest helps that I had was other students at my own university, just kind of helping us, push and drive to, we all want to end up working, I'm studying this particular area, you're studying that area, I'll help you with this if you help me with that. That's always a really good way for kind of cross-discipline mentorships as well. Do we have questions on this side? Nope. Okay.
I was going to add another point to what you were saying.
Yeah.
And if you find yourself not studying, there's plenty of platforms for your specific discipline where there's talented people. You can expose yourself to that talent and develop your skills in your own time as well by just seeing what people can do with what they have and challenging yourself.
Yeah. absolutely. The internet's amazing.
Yeah. And that's something all 5 of you have said, I think, isn't it? That, you know, when you left your course, you were still engaged actively in making games.
Yeah.
Right from the moment you left, you know, you were making jobs.
Yeah.
And so on, yeah, you know, that makes a big difference, I think.
Yeah, it's always important to keep up with it. Like,
Rather than, I don't need to study anymore, or make games anymore, because no one's cracking the whip over me with assessments.
That's the hardest thing as well. Like once you finish, there's no one sort of holding you accountable except for yourself.
Yeah.
And you've got to figure a way to sort of hold yourself accountable as well. And you really got to kick yourself up the arse and sort of really knuckle down and like try to build your skills so you are hireable. So yeah, that's the toughest thing. So who's here is in 2nd year and sort of finishing. Like yeah, so prepare for that. You got to find a way to sort of keep yourself productive.
Yeah.
And
That's the
like, it's
biggest
competitive
thing.
as well. Like everyone wants to work in games. You're not the only one. So like, I don't want to scare you, but like yeah, just work hard, and it's gonna be so worth it when you get it as well. So you got to keep that in mind.
That's the biggest thing I've noticed with the people I graduated with, those of us who have jobs and those of us who aren't working yet. People who have jobs, they didn't stop, they didn't slow down. They might have taken a break over Christmas and then they were straight back into it. And we've got people that have been working freelance as well as in studios, so there's always a freelance option after you study. That don't just think that it's just got to get into a studio, because it's all experience after you finish studying. Yeah. Do we have anyone else? Yeah. Ella.
It's too scared.
I was going to ask, what were your expectations like before you got into the industry? And
Disappointed.
What were our expectations before we got work and now that we've been working? Do we want to go on alone? Throw it to Duy?
Yeah, I don't want to sound corny, but it's basically like a dream come true.
Aw.
It's my dream job, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, this is exactly what I sort of thought of. Like, I did an internship, so I was kind of prepared for like what life would be like in the industry. So, yeah, this is excellent. Yeah.
For me, yeah. Well, for me, like before I started, I thought I'd just be making like a lot of low poly assets for sort of Shopkins or something. But I'm being pleasantly surprised. I've been sort of given a lot of responsibility working on this new IP and working on. I don't know how much I can say about it, but like it's been awesome having
Tell
sort
me
of.
more.
But it's been awesome having like a lot of responsibility on a project and sort of having a major contribution to it. And like, yeah, like the company's awesome, the structure's cool, and like yeah, I love it.
Obviously, it's hard to say only having one job. So, like, you read a lot about AAA companies and a lot of like cog in the wheel, and that's kind of the expectation. Not entirely when first going for like getting into the industry, but yeah, definitely, you know, surprised coming here. It's just it's really, yeah, really, it's honestly fun. Like, you don't think of going to work, you know, on a Sunday like, oh, I got work tomorrow. It's more like, hey, I got work tomorrow. So nah, but it's yeah, no, lots of fun, and yeah.
I've always been told ever since growing up that like, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life, and that's honestly what it feels like. At least I knew that I wanted to go into rigging, and I hadn't had the chance to do that in an industry, in a studio, in an industry setting, but I had experience through internships and other, even jobs not related to industry, so I knew that work ethic was going to be important. But those internships that I did really ended up helping me out, because they gave me kind of a standard to, this is what work you need to be doing, and this is kind of like, you've got this area to learn from. Like, you don't have to go in knowing everything, and I knew that there was serious gaps in what I knew, but coming in I found that what surprised me most was that even though I didn't know a lot of things because I came from a film-based course, not a games-based course, those gaps in knowledge weren't that important. They were filled gradually. I'd never touched Unity before, and now I'm going through doing all the things. So I think that expectations-wise, I knew that I was going to learn a lot, but I just didn't know how much I was going to learn, because when you finish your course, I know all the things, I'm good at this, and I think that kind of, you were a big fish in a little pond when you're doing your course, coming out to, you're a teeny tiny little fish in the ocean now in the industry. That was kind of the biggest, I expected it, but it was, I need to stop forgetting about that. It was also the biggest kind of shock to the system for me.
Yeah, to build off that, I think I put a lot of pressure on myself to try and know everything and anything, just in case I got a job and I landed in a position where I had to know all that. But coming into this position, I was pleasantly surprised that I actually didn't need to know everything. I had a mentor that would assist me if I had a question. I actually didn't need to do everything. It was do this task. If you have problems, go to someone, ask about it. It's okay to not know everything. That's, I guess, the biggest surprise that I've had. So, yeah. But
Collaborative industry. We've got people around us to help us.
yeah, exactly.
People really enjoy helping other people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, as well as imposter syndrome is actually a thing, and I'm sure everyone else here has kind of thought, how did we even get in here at points? But it's just that you've got all these people around that are willing to help you and want to help you as well, and that kind of makes the industry amazing, that you can walk out here and talk to anyone in the building, and walk in, talk to anyone at work, and even if it's unrelated to what you're doing, they'll stop and show you how they did it. It's very collaborative. Do we have another question? At the back.
What are you guys' plans and goals for the future?
So what are our plans and goals for the future? Alright, we'll start at this end now. I started this wanting to learn as much as I possibly can. Like I said, coming from the film-based course going into games, I really wanted to learn how to just kind of glide through Unity and be able to do everything without as much effort as it took when I started, and gradually that's been, I look back to my first week at some of the rigging that I did in my first week, and it's amazing the difference. I pick it to pieces. I thought it was amazing then, it's horrible now. So my main goal is to keep learning. I want to make me the best possible me that I can. Everyone says, we want to move on to work at, Blizzard's the dream, or another company. I didn't think of Blizzard at the moment, but just starting here at Mighty Kingdom, I've found somewhere that I really enjoy, so I want to make the most of being here, but I've probably got that shorter term goal, not a longer term goal anymore. I thought that I was going to be, alright, as soon as I get here I want to move on to somewhere else, and then I want to move on to somewhere else, but that's kind of slowed down, and probably a 10-year plan has turned into a 2-year plan.
Yeah, so obviously we've only been in the industry for about 8 months at Mighty Kingdom, so it's kind of hard to look at the next place and where do you want to jump ship. But no, obviously for me, public speaking is something that I want to get better at, so I can possibly do it in the future. So hopefully I'm not too bad at it. This is the first time talking in front of thousands of people. But yeah, so just getting better at that, and then I don't even know if there's any form of jobs that involve that, but I guess we'll just see how it goes. Other than that, just obviously improving my programming skills. I'm learning more every single day, so if I can just keep that up, then yeah.
For me, obvious things like building my skills up as an artist. I'm looking at sort of more technical skills though. Trying to learn Python right now, so I can sort of automate things in Maya. And then I do want to learn sort of other languages as well, because I like branching out and learning different skills. It always ends up being useful in some way. Like a bunch of things I sort of learned through working on Child of the Wind I thought would never be useful in the context of working at this job, but just has ended up being useful and contributed a fair bit to the project. Outside of that, career-wise, it's hard to sort of think about that sort of stuff. And I'm sort of happy being in Adelaide as well, because my family's here, so I don't know. But yeah, I think it's hard to sort of the same as Sarah. I can't really focus too far ahead like that. I think just focusing on building my skills and sort of seeing where it takes me as well. I sort of would like to work my own sort of projects or games and decide, but yeah, it's hard to say. it's hard to sort of set those sort of goals. I feel like I don't want to be like, I want to work at this specific studio, because those sort of goals are unreasonable, I feel. All you can focus on is yourself, really. So that's sort of me, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, like pretty much just my goals have always just been to improve myself, my programming skills. Like just learning as much as I can from this job. And like they said, it's an amazing job, and I can't see myself really going anywhere anytime soon. So it's just learning, seeing how far I can get, and yeah, just doing the best I can, really. Even just like trying to learn skills in other sort of aspects of the job, like maybe some managerial, or not managerial, like management and stuff like that. So I don't know, just seeing where it takes me, I guess. That's my goal.
Yeah, same, building up my game design skills, but also more so how to manage a team, how to lead the team as a product manager, and I'm slowly transitioning to that. So yeah, and I was one of the big dreamers that wanted to work at Blizzard one day, but since starting here, I don't see myself leaving anytime soon because I'm really enjoying myself now.
I think we all agree that they'll have to pry us off of our desks if we ever have to leave. Is there any other questions? Yes.
How have you found working within a company environment, like within Mighty Kingdom or other companies you've worked at? Because with being a game student, sort of when you finish your course, there's sort of the, do I want to like go down my own path and sort of create my own studio, or do I want to look for work at a studio or a company? So have you found the company sort of side of things?
Okay, so how have we found like working for a studio? I did my 2 internships at 2 very different studios. One was games, one was television, cartoons, and the main difference from Mighty Kingdom that I found was the culture. They, for both of the previous ones, said, you know, they had a family culture, and they really did. Everyone got on and it was amazing, but it was very quiet. In here, it's not. We're very loud and we all get on. But I found that this kind of loud, you know, everyone talks to everyone else kind of culture, it means that I get to see and hear about different parts of the pipeline that I would not have even seen before, because I talk to, in a regular studio, I guess, I would talk to the modelers because their work impacts how I rig, and then I would talk to the animators because how I rig impacts their animation, and that might be it. But here, like, I can talk to the product managers, I can talk to the programmers, I can talk to pretty much anyone and say, how did you do that? You know, I want to learn more about this. And so it's kind of building up not only, you know, technical skills and learning, you know, more about modeling, more about programming, but it's also building up soft skills, which is the top point up there. So learning about teamwork, learning about interpersonal skills, that's really important. And I had thought when I left university, I thought maybe I might get a few people together and we can kind of do a little studio doing advertisements. And I'm so glad that I didn't. It's worked for other people. There's been a lot of people who did the same course as me and have built successful studios. But for me, if I ever did that now, I'd want to know that I was at the best possible point in my personal growth and my technical growth to be able to do that and really kind of hit a home run with a studio, because there's so many different things working in here to working in, you know, a studio situation in class where we only have to turn up for 3 hours a week. It's very different.
We basically covered all that. Yeah. I guess something that's really cool is like going from AIE to working here. It's actually not a huge difference, you know. From AIE we're all studying, but here we're essentially doing the same thing, except rather than learning from like a teacher, we're just learning from each other. And it's nice to be able to sit next to other like really good developers and learn. And something that I love is that working on your own projects is all well and good, but it's nice having someone else that's working on that project as well, because it means you don't have to do all of it. So, for example, we've got someone that specializes in like HUD UI and UI, and it's really nice to know that he will do that stuff for me and I don't have to, most of the time. Because obviously I'm not the best at it, but that's what he's hired for. And it's really nice working in a studio where there's people hired for the specific role. and you know that they're going to smash it, and then so you can just focus on your role.
I think it goes both ways as well, because not only can you add wood focus on your role, you also able to branch out because you got people next to you can ask about what they're doing and how they are doing it and learn heaps. So that's one big benefit working in a studio as well. Also, it's just sort of just like nice, just being in a studio environment, being surrounded by other people in a larger group, because it gets pretty lonely as well if you're sort of, you know, maybe in a small sort of like team of people and it's tough, you don't know whether you're going to make it or not, and yeah, but it's just, I think I like the studio environment, been surprised by it, and yeah, especially this sort of environment as well. It's very self-managed. I like it. It's probably very similar even just to working at, sort of having your own sort of team going. Like, it's very self-managed, and yeah, I like it a lot. I haven't got much else to really add on what these guys have said, but yeah.
I think the experience for me has differed between like my internships and the places I've worked at, because they all ranged in like the size of team, and therefore your like position in it changes. So I've been in a sort of smaller studio that's like definitely classified as indie, and I feel like I had a lot of like contribution to like pretty much every part of like the project, and for me that's not really too much of a good thing, because I'm not like an expert at different things. But for here it's like you have a say, but there's also like a hierarchy of like work as well, and it's good to have feedback from just like every part of like the project, I guess. So like the art and then like the animation, like if you find something a bit off about something, you can just message one of the animators and say, hey, I don't know about this part, and you can have a whole discussion about it, and it could be improved just like from your own feedback. And I don't know, it's
Yeah, basically what just everyone just said. But I can't speak from experience, but I've spoken to people who have worked in indies, and there's no, there's not that big of financial pressure as when you're working here, because indies, they're under that constant pressure of shutting down all the time if they don't make the sales, and it's kind of, I feel that's kind of jarring on your daily performance. Yeah.
Something to add to that one? Or?
Oh, I was going to say, have any of you participated in game jams, and how have you found them?
Okay, so game jams. We did one when we first started, actually. That was about a month into starting, and that was my first game jam, so that was interesting, but you guys probably would have done more than me.
Yeah, we did a Mighty Kingdom game jam with everyone in the office, and some of them were actually made in, like, we actually started developing them as a company and shipped some of them. Yeah, so it was really fun. Good learning experience. Yeah, it really helps you develop how fast you go, which is important. Like, working fast is important, in addition to quality as well. Don't compromise on quality. Yeah, that's the only one I've done.
Yeah, I wasn't part of Mighty Kingdom when they did Game Jam, but I haven't done a Game Jam, so I can't really say much about it. I'm sure they're great. I've heard they're great, and I've had programmers push me to do them, but I've always just been like too busy, like sticking my head into work or like reading textbooks and stuff. So yeah, I haven't found the time to do one yet.
I've done 3 outside of the one we did at MK. Can do more as well. They're good fun because you can really see like how much you can produce in such a short period of time, and also teach you how to prioritize things as well. Actually, Child of the Wind was a game jam game we sort of developed into like a full thing, so that was cool. But definitely do game jams. Like, you really learn a lot about yourself and how much you can push yourself, and you also take on sort of new skills as well as you're doing them. It's just a good fun. It can be a mess sometimes, but it's great. It's like the best sort of mess. But nah, they're good.
Yeah, I've participated in 2 but 1 we just worked on our own project for the whole time. So we're there for the food. But for when I do go to game jams, it's really good for just networking, like being able to talk to everyone and sleep next to them. It's just really beneficial. But yeah, they are pretty good, but they can be tiring, of course.
So worth it though.
Yes.
Just on the feedback you mentioned before, before you entered the industry, did you have any expectations of the feedback you would receive, and what are your experiences dealing with feedback in a new position? So you obviously have managers who provide feedback to your work.
Okay, so our expectations about feedback, like before and during.
And a new person dealing with feedback.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so obviously as a game designer, feedback is crucial because either your designs are good or they don't work, and sometimes, or pretty much all the time, it's hard to see it because you've created it. So it's always good to get an outside perspective. And I didn't take feedback very well at first, but I had to learn, otherwise I wouldn't survive in this industry.
For me, I love feedback. I love showing people my code and being like, how can I improve this? For here, it's particularly helpful because I have a mentor that I can bother every single day and every single hour being like, how can I do this better? But yeah, I love it. It's the best way to improve, really, and you can see the flaws in like your code that you previously like either didn't know about or you sort of like skimmed over, and it's just it's easy for me.
Well, yeah, as an artist, you always got to be open to feedback and actually look for actively really look for feedback all the time and seeing the faults and or how you can improve. But yeah, it's handy being an MK because I can just ask Alex, my mentor, as well, for what he thinks of the thing I'm making or whatever. But yeah, outside of MK, definitely, like I said before, if you're working in portfolio, put your art online, ask for feedback, chase after people, and really see what you can improve on and stuff. And yeah, I think that's what makes the difference between some good artists and others that don't quite make it, is the ones that are good sort of look for feedback, and the ones that don't. So yeah.
Yeah, I've got nothing really to add to that. Same with those guys.
Yeah, the first time you get any sort of negative feedback, it really hurts, but then you realise that it's a good pain. It's helping you grow. I hadn't done any Python scripting before I started here, so I've learnt how to use Python in 7 months since I've been here, and just kind of going from being able to write tiny little scripts and then getting feedback from my mentor on, why did you include this line when you could have, cut it down to, include it in that line. It helps kind of put things in perspective, like you're always learning, and you're never going to be the best, but you're going to be the best that you can be. And to think of it like that, it's always kind of helps put feedback in a positive light. And I love feedback now because it means it's the only way I'm going to grow, as Kirsty said. Yes.
Within Mighty Kingdom, you consider or actually use ergonomic equipment to help you retain your performance to do your work.
Okay, ergonomic equipment.
Yeah, we have standing desks, definitely. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Does that help? Yeah, so about the equipment, speaking of, that's not going to go blue again. Yeah, we've got standing desks. Someone's got a really fancy keyboard that's split in two, and it looks like
crazy.
a sci-fi ship.
It hasn't got keys on it, that's sort of
It doesn't have letters on it
doesn't
either.
letters, yeah.
But
And
the equipment that we use, some people use their own things, some people use company things. It's all kind of on personal preference. So, if you like to sit down at your desk, you don't have to use the standing function. But if you get a sore back, you can stand up. So it's kind of all what helps you work the best. So there's no blanket rule of you must stand up and be a cool game dev and do all that. Any more questions? Yes.
So there might be a lot of things that haven't done a great interview before. What are some tips for people who are doing their first interview or preparing for an interview?
Okay, so first interview tips.
Research the company you're applying for. Definitely. I've done interviews where they asked me what kind of games they make, and I didn't know, and I failed on the spot. So that's definitely important.
Yeah, pretty much just be yourself. You can be really nervous and all just closed off, but when the company's interviewing, they want to see if you're a cultural fit for them. You just want to show who you are as a person as best you can. So I guess just try and, I know it's hard, but try and relax as much as you can. Just show as much of your personality as you can, because that's what the company wants to see. They want to see if you're enthusiastic, that you'll fit with their company, that you're willing to learn, and that you're there to do the work. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the whole culture fit thing was a big part of my MK interview as well. I think it's the thing they were really testing to see what you're like as a person. Like one of the first few things I asked was like, you know, what do you enjoy doing even outside of like making games? And you know, I was like, oh, well, I like sort of watching sport, you know, lifting weights and like doing like other things, and like not just sort of making games and being like an interesting. You've got to be like an interesting person outside of just sort of making games and stuff, I feel. And like, and I also just want to see what you're like, sort of whether or not you've got an ego or. And like just you have a good personality fit. I want to see if you can actually work in the team with them and work shoulder to shoulder with other people in the studio. So yeah, make sure you're level-headed before the interview and not ahead of yourself. And yeah.
95% of the time, the interviewers, they're more just seeing how your personality is. Like, they're already interviewing you, so they obviously know that your skills are up with it. So just obviously don't be nervous. Try not to be nervous. But just show teamwork. That's like the most important thing, because you're going to be working in a team. So just show that you can work in a team. And also if they ask, hey, do you want to do a Skype interview or a call or something, say, no, I want to come in, because that's probably one of the good ones. I'm going to show them how good you are in person.
Yeah, the Skype interview one, because I was in Victoria at the time, make sure that your camera works, because my camera died halfway through the interview. So it was a phone interview for half of it. For interviews, I find that if you're new, like a new graduate, they know that you're going to be nervous as all hell, and that's okay. Just don't let it get the better of you. Just kind of try and chill. But it's okay to be nervous when you're starting interviews, because that's just natural. That's what happens. But a big thing would be go online and look up like common interview questions, and those really broad, like, show us an example of how you've worked well in a team. Show us an example of conflict resolution when you've been working in a team and there's been conflict. Try even student projects. So nearly all my examples were from student projects. That still shows, you know, my teamwork. That still shows my conflict resolution. It doesn't matter that it wasn't from an industry job. I could back up, you know, my claims with this is what happened. But yeah, definitely look into, you know, what you'd kind of go, oh, that's boring interview stuff. It really helps prepare you. And I found that was the most valuable thing going into interviews.
On top of that, when you're in an interview, obviously you're nervous as hell, so words can just leave your head, and they understand that. So if they ask you a question that you just can't think of at the time because you're too nervous, just tell them, I have an answer for this. Can I email it to you afterwards? Because like, as long as you give them that response, like, you may as well just be honest and say, hey, I'm really nervous at the moment. Can I tell you this after? Because they'll understand. And I did that. I did that for a few things because I was trying to think of this word that I just couldn't think of. I was like, I'm going to email it to you afterwards, and that's what I did. And also afterwards, I thought of a few things that I forgot to mention in the interview, and it's worth just chucking in that email, because it might be that one thing that they're looking for that you forgot to mention, and it can be quite important.
It's okay to ask them, can you please repeat the question, or say it differently, I didn't understand how you asked it. And even turning around and saying, I don't know the whole answer to what you're asking, but here's how I'd go about solving what I do know, but past this point I don't know. And that's completely acceptable, because it shows that you're not going to try and kind of fudge your way through everything, that you're an honest person as well, but you can solve something.
It's also a good point, like the interviewer isn't your enemy. They're just trying to like show you in a good light. They're trying to like lead you to a path where you can sort of express yourself and be able to like nail the interview. Like they're always super helpful, and they'll be totally understanding. Like all the interviews I've been in, they haven't like sort of been angry or like anything scary like that. It's always been like a nice, like calm atmosphere where you just like get to talk. So yeah, that's always good for me to remember every time I go into one. It's just like, okay, it's just going to be like a chat, and it's about something I'm passionate about, so just go in there and do it. So
yeah, it's important to remember that they're just another person as well, and they're looking for someone to work with them, so you know, they're not out to get you. And like, also prior to the interview, while you're applying, make sure you go online, like go in your social medias, make sure you got nothing on there that's not who you are today. Like 5 years ago, you would have been a less mature person, and you could have said something really bad. Just make sure it's not there, because they'll probably find it.
Yeah. Go and get a friend or someone else to go and Google you. The Googleability. It works positively if people can search Sarah Elliott technical artist, but it also works in the negative if they find like drunk Saturday pictures. So make sure that you're Googleable, but you're not going to, work to your own detriment there.
Is there a hand up in the back?
I know it's none of your specialities, but are there many roles for like 2D artists, like concept and illustration in like sort of this size game company?
So 2D artists and illustrators in games companies.
I mean, with us, we got three.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
think of right now.
Yeah, in here we have
got two.
we have someone
teachers
who
or-
does basically just UI. We have someone who does concept art, and yeah, it's just roles for that in there.
So there's like one guy who does concept art.
We've got three right now.
There's a couple.
Yeah, there's a couple, yeah.
Yeah, so there's always roles out there. It's just it depends, what companies are needing what roles for particular jobs at the time. I think someone, I can't remember who said it
Helps to
about
branch out though.
Yeah, branching.
Yeah, because one of our 2D artists also is Learn 3D this year.
Yeah.
It comes in super helpful as well. So, I'm like, yeah, definitely doesn't have to branch out, and you'll probably enjoy it just much the same as well. Similar sort of skill set that you're exercising. So, Learn 3D if you can. Like, yeah, it helps heaps.
But don't do everything to the detriment of your specialisation. So even though I like modelling and animating, I'm not that great at it, so I'm not going to be going, here's all my animation stuff. By the way, I'm a rigger as well. It's going to be, I'm a rigger, but I can do some other stuff as well. So yeah, don't let branching out kind of harm your main specialisation if your main specialisation is what you really want to focus on. Now, do we have any?
Just on that with the application process, showing that you're do you focus on showing that you're a specialist rather than generalist? I know this has changed throughout the years that way. You focus should be, what are your thoughts on that? Picking yourself as a specialist or a generalist?
So the specialist versus generalist debate. I was always told, make sure you have generalist reels because as a graduate, no one's going to, want you for a technical artist. They're going to say you need to do all these other little jobs as well. And I found that wasn't the case for me. It might be the case for some other people, but I made sure that I had a specialist and a generalist reel. But it just turns out that for me, the specialist reel was the one that got me in the door. If you want to be a generalist, there's nothing against being a generalist and knowing all the things. I just wanted to focus on a very specific set of things and then gradually kind of bleed out into other ones as I went. What about you guys?
Yeah, I guess. Sorry, no good. Okay. I guess it really depends on what kind of job you're going for afterwards. I think in terms of indie, being a generalist is better because the company's not that big. You're gonna need that one person to do more than what they specialize in. But for bigger companies like MK or AAA, specializing is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, I've been in an interview where being a generalist was like definitely kind of key, where I was able to showcase my programming skills, but also like let them know that I was like artistic in a way, and they wanted examples of my art and things like that, and they got really excited that like I could perhaps like dabble into other areas that's not just programming. Like that's a really broad, like really wide generalist. But when I was applying for like kind of bigger companies, I sort of shaped my resume and everything around more specializations because that's what they were looking for. So I had to like prove that I could fulfill this role, like not just in a general sense, but like in a specialist sense as well. So it's just, it depends on where you're going and like what role you want to fill, I guess. And if you're trying to be a specialist, I guess what you're most passionate about, like maybe it's like graphics programming and that's your niche, and then you just go for all of those roles, I guess. So, yeah.
So I think it's different for everyone per se. Like some people say the benefit of being a specialist, but I think I've sort of benefited from branching out a bit because I don't just do 3D modeling at MK. I do like a bunch of other things. I do a lot of material creation in Unity with Amplify, and then I do a bunch of stuff because the game I'm working on is pre-rendered entirely. Been doing a lot of material creation in Maya as well with Arnold. So like I've had a bunch of skills that I never thought would be useful in this context being really useful. So like I think it's definitely always worth sort of investing, learning a new skill on top of what you're trying to specialise in now. So I can specialise at something, like be good at something, but then also have other things you sort of dabble in as well, because you never know, like it comes in useful at some points. So it's definitely worthwhile, I feel, in my opinion. So,
it can all depend, like if the company you're going for is looking for generalists, well, then obviously they're going to want generalists, but there's no reason not to be a generalist. Like it only helps to have other skills, I guess. But if you don't like programming, there's no point in you trying to do programming, because you're probably not going to be that good at it because you're not interested in it. So it's just not really, like, just stick to mainly what you like, but if you like everything, well then do everything. You may as well, because it only helps.
Do we have any more questions?
I think we're done.
I think we're done.
Yeah.
By the looks.
Cool.
I think that's it for the questions.